Okay. Hi, everyone. We are Dignifi.ai. We're an AI co-pilot for debt collection agencies. Debt collection agencies are basically highly specialized contact centers. They have high employee turnover that is 2 times higher than the average contact center turnover. And that's because debt collection is a complex and regulated space. Despite all the automations that we have in contact center software and quite literally across fintech, collection space is still a very manual sector. And that's because they do outreach primarily by phone or snail mail. And more importantly, a lot of the updates to the regulations and compliance needs are really manual because it's complex and evolving, meaning it's still changing constantly. And that means that a lot of their interactions with the consumers that they're collecting debt from are focused on being compliant first. And so these conversations are very adversarial and high stress. And ultimately, that results in a pretty inefficient business. So it's a little bit complex of a figure, but for every $1 million of debt acquired by these agencies, only a small percentage is actually recovered because of these adversarial conversations. And because of the high labor costs, ultimately, at the very end, they see very little profit as an agency. That's where we come in. We're going to bring co-pilot technology to these debt agencies. We're going to be able to do multi-channel outreach with technology, use text and emails to reach out to customers, bypassing some of the labor costs. And more importantly, on these regulations, we're going to use AI tech to do self-updating regulations. And this is important because for many contact centers in these debt agencies, if they miss something or are not compliant, they see fines between $500 to $1,500 per call that result in over millions of dollars that are costing them on a daily basis. And that's not even considering the lawsuits that come after the fact. Now, if I told you that AI technology can help make a cost center more effective, you're probably like, okay, that is a pretty obvious thing, right? But what if I also told you that using AI technology to adapt to the consumer and actually use script that can meet them where they're at in terms of outreach, but also the right repayment plans for them can actually be more collaborative, and because of that, be more effective in getting them to pay. We see this in the data. So smaller, newer debt collection agencies that use a more collaborative approach actually see 100% improvement in their collection recovery rates. And they do that by using more highly trained agents that are a little bit higher paid. But we really do believe that using AI technology, we can sort of scale that collaborative and adaptive method in a much larger way while also reducing costs. And it ultimately leads to minimum 3 times profit improvement for these agencies. That's really the competitive advantage here. We're bringing that AI and adaptive engine into a very specialized space, a space where you can't just take sort of contact call center technology that's generalized and make it work.
And this is how Dignifi.ai works. We start with smart multi-channel routing because we know our consumer data and we know the patterns. We can use predictive AI to meet the user where they are, either SMS, call, email, mail, or text. And all this is done in a compliant manner to local, federal, state regulation that is continuously evolving. And we have Agent Assist. Our Agent Assist use listening AI models to provide adaptive and real-time sentiment analysis, inflow documentation, and most importantly, it listens to user interaction with the agent and come up with the understanding of the user and their ability to pay or their willingness to pay, and come up with a personalized payment plan that is A/B tested. Some user might be able to pay today in full. Some user might need the balance to be cut in half. Some user might take more time, 3 months or 6 months. So we are able to understand and personalize the payment plan for the user. We also have agent feedback, live transcription call notes, voice and text input, as well as real-time escalation. But the coolest part is that Dignifi.ai learns. Think about the super agent. You can train the best agent. The agent come and go, and all the knowledge get lost. But with Dignifi.ai, all the knowledge compile and compound from regulation data, A/B tested outreach, human interaction, all the conversation. We have the agent interaction, thumb up, thumb down for our suggestion, and all the selection, all that compile in our data flywheel that continue to get better and better and better. And that built the moat for our business and really amplify the performance of our agent. And with that, we will improve the profit of the agency by 300%. And that's also plus massive upside with data flywheel. So we are paid for performance. And I have lived this. I have worked in this industry for years, and I have been thinking about this. I have been talking with my former colleagues for years, how frustrating, how backdated, how little innovation is done in the collection and servicing industry. And this weekend, we double and triple validated how burdensome and how much needed of this type of solution. We talked with the contact center manager, and he said it take over 60 days for a new agent to become even effective. And we talked with the legal counsel. He said the bar is set very low for a new solution. The lawsuit we get are because agents go off script. When we have also spoke with one of the largest collection agency, and they're very interested in working with us and potentially will be our pilot customer. And it is so clear that we'll crush the debt collection agency space and will quickly move to highly regulated contact center and the broader contact center. And we pull together the best dream team. And with the unfair advantage, I have built similar platform from the ground up, to $6 billion. We have Salali, who is an AI expert with AI and human interaction. We have Jagdish here, who has found multiple company and exit as a CTO. And Helen is our B2B SaaS expert. She brought Slack from early stage startup to acquisition. So truly you see that we have the perfect team to build this. And we are so passionate in bringing AI and humanity to a sector that never had any. You're not alone.
Thanks for this link, the team. Yeah. You can see. So, any questions for Dignifi.ai?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So the first question is essentially like which segment we will start with. And then I'll take the first question, and then one of the engineer will take the second question. So for the first question, we are going to start with the unsecured debt, which is including all credit card, personal loan, and just small loans. This is a lot of it because we have networks in that space. We already have connections.
Hi, I'll take that second question, which was how customers will feel about using their data to train models, which could help their competitors. Well, one thing about this industry is that it's a two-part answer. One is that the bar is low just because of how cutthroat their margins are. So that incentivizes them to work with us. The second part is that we're not training models that necessarily harm you in terms of competition. We're really focused especially on compliance and regulatory restrictions. And so we're training models that are more like guardrails. And so it's one of those things where like a rising tide raises all boats. Really, it helps out just to have better call centers in the industry. So we're really growing the pie. Since I'm holding mic, I'll take that one. Yeah. Really, this is an industry where we're like we said during our pitch, we're trying to make it a more humane industry. I'd say that it's really on us. The tools that we're building shouldn't enable unethical behavior. And that's really baked into the fact that we're not trying to break regulation. If anything, we're trying to increase compliance. And so I'd say that's really it's hard to be selective about clients. It's all about your own actions with those clients.
I'll also just add that like Salali said, the baseline is very low. In terms of debt collection, there's a stat that like 1 in 4 Americans or 1 in 4 consumers feel threatened by debt collectors today. And so what we're saying is that because of that adversarial experience, it sort of creates this high stress environment. And I think that like the goal is to like be compliant, make it more collaborative and less adversarial overall. Okay, yeah. In the back? Or over there? Yeah, sure. Over there. Okay. Sure, yeah. Whoever there's your hand. Sorry.
The low performance of the debt collection companies, we already have debt collection crisis. And on the consumer side, 90% of the consumers won't even respond to the lawsuit and the collection. So have you thought about like how much you're going to add to this kind of price?
Yeah, that is a great question. One of the things that we definitely thought a lot about is that it's kind of almost like a consumer part of our platform, essentially, because we get all this, we get to meet and understand all these users. So we almost, we want to actually help them. And then through actually engage in our platform with our agent, we are going to provide better knowledge, better education for the user. There's definitely a lot of resources that people don't know. We talked to a bunch of people in debt, and then one of the person was just like, I didn't even know, like I just hear that a lot of American has debt. I didn't know that I have to pay back until she want to buy a house. And then now she know that, oh, I can't buy a house. I can't get a rent. So that's when she started having to like figure out how to pay back her debt. But yes, we are not adding to the debt, but we are helping to provide the collection rate, increase the collection rate, but also educate consumer to actually be better than where they start. Yeah, over there. Yeah.
I think the question is, there's a lot of features listed in the slides. What is the like core MVP to start with? We talked to a debt collection agency, and I think the MVP would really be focused on that more sort of self updating regulations, because it's such a core piece of this industry and really, really hard right now and a pretty low bar, right? They do it manually right now, so manual that because it's evolving, they're like, we scour the web for the latest lawsuits, and we like ingest that information and we sort of like interpret it and try to figure out like how to apply that. And it actually prevents them from trying some of the other newer methods of reaching out, like text and email, because they're just like, we don't want to. We want to, but we don't want to risk like misinterpreting or not having the right data or the right information about compliance. And so like that's a clear need, so much that like all of the industry experts that we talk to, they're like, I mean, yes, like what, like when are you bringing AI to this? Because this part is really hard.
Yeah.
So to repeat the question, the root of it is how do we deal with things like hallucinations when we're dealing with a really complex environment? And I think the key is that we want to build our compliance engine separately from our guidance. And so our guidance is allowed to take on a really specific task, which is to manage the tone and how we reach out to these people. But training a separate engine that's essentially the guardrail for the system helps us really like tighten down the problem, and LLMs do better in like specializations like that. So that's the core of it.
And also it is like a co-pilot. So we agents are in the loop.
It's also a UX problem.
Cool. Anyway, let's thank our team.